All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
One Outs, episode 14.
All right, Toa.
Yep.
This is going to be a good one.
You've got someone in front of Johnson, but they don't really have, you don't have any outs, so the person on third could just force a steal home, get out, and then Johnson could be on third. There's lots of counterplay that can happen here.
Right.
You've got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, so essentially you have to play the batter. You have to play the batter in a specific way that they are guaranteed to be out, so that if the guy on third gets out, then you have Johnson on third with 2 outs, then he's not a problem because of the strategies that you've employed before.
Right.
But this batter will have agency and can choose to be difficult here. But there's some ways, Toa. There's some ways that you can finagle this. So let's see which ones you choose. But yeah, I'm really excited that this is something where both the coach of the Bugaboos and Toa both have kind of aligned this properly so that it can be a Keikaku Dori moment for them.
And then which Keikaku will Dori harder. But
yeah. So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this.
Good
idea.
三塁の宮間はいつだって死ねる。
宮間は死ねない。
Yeah.
そしてお前は二塁に閉じ込められて腐って死ね。
Okay.
バカな。初球
Wait,
ホームスチ
really?
ールすればどうしたって刺すだろう。宮間走れ。
さあここはどう抑えるか徳地。あっと宮間走ったー。
宮間を殺しに来やがった。
徳地投げたー。
Yep, dead ball, baby!
Awesome!
Yep! Hell yeah! Genius!
Yep. Play
Yep.
stops. Instant walk.
Oh my god, it's
Now the
happening!
bases are
It's
loaded.
happening!
Forces everywhere.
It's happening!
All right.
This is so good.
ただデッドボールなら確かに宮間は死ねない。
Because
どう
there's
すんだよ。
they still don't have any
ノーアウト
outs on
満塁
them.
でピンチが広がっただけじゃねえか。
No, this is better.
まだ続きがあんだよ。
Yep, yep.
おうライト、センターもレフトもだ。
おっとなんでしょうか。
Oh my
見ま
god.
したねカニダさん。
Because if they have to use bunts in order to force opportunities for stealing, then they don't need to worry about the outfield.
こいつらを呼んだのはれっきとしたシ
Holy
フト変
shit.
更。
My God.
今からこいつらにも内野を守らせる。
Okay, okay.
究極の前進守備。
Uh-huh. Okay.
名付けて9人内野だ。
Alright.
Now it's all on Utoa because
これ
if
は
they
驚
get
きです。
any
なんと
hit,
徳地
that
9人
goes
で内
past the
野を守ると
infield,
宣言し
you
まし
guys
た。
are done.
これがあの顔面入れ墨野郎を封じ込める方。
Holy shit.
どこへ転がってもゲッツーになる。
Regardless.
言い換えれば
Okay.
内野ゴロを打った時点で
Right,
That's
and
not
because there's
shit.
forces
Shit.
everywhere and someone on each base.
Well, yeah, home is an easy out.
Yeah, home is an easy out, and anywhere else is an easy out.
一発外野に飛ばされただけで
Yeah,
何億の
yeah.
負けになると
It's the perfect
Has he ever
gambling
let that
situation.
happen, though?
馬鹿げてる。
俺さ沖縄にいた時
Yep.
ずっと
Didn't
ワン
have
アウト
any
掛け野
fielders.
球やってたんだけど
That's
さ
true. It's into one
Tokoro
outs.
俺は500回もの勝負をしたんだが誰一人として俺から外野フライを打ったやつはいねえんだよ。
And
My
now
name is Toa
we're,
Tokichi, and I have never known defeat.
we're crouched in.
あいつ追い詰められてやけくそになってんじゃないのかな。
徳地はそんなことをするやつじゃありませんよ。確かにこれはジョンソン封じに
Yeah, it stops the base runners really well here.
徳地は打者との勝負に専念できます。
ストライク。
さらに勝ち負けを明確にすることによって
Right.
バッターに心理的プレッシャーを
So if he even strikes the batter out once, then a double play means innings over.
Yep.
例えば長さ10メートル幅50センチの平均台を渡れと言われれば普通は余裕で渡れますよね。でも同じ平均台が高さ100メートルの2つの崖の間に渡してあったとしたらこれ渡れますか？これと同じことでただ誰もいない外野に打つだけなら簡単なことですがもし失敗すれば 全てが終わると意識してしまったら。
内野ゴロはダメだ。俺一人でこのチャンスを潰しちまう。
ストライク。三島のやつ体がすくんでる。
いいか、これじゃ完全に特地のペースだ。
You gonna tell him to steal home anyway?
外野にさえ飛ばせば。
That's so good.
外野が。
That's so good. Feels so far away. Yeah. Oh my god.
三島打った。いや
Yep, easy.
センター今度ホームへ送球。アウト。すかさずフ
Yep,
ァースト。
yep, yep,
アウト
easy.
ダブルプレー。
Now,
8-2.
he could
three?
still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Couldn't Johnson? Well, yeah, no. With
Yeah.
how tight the infield was, he probably wouldn't have been able to steal home.
No, because they adjust the person forward. Yeah.
Right.
一人の男が沼にはまった。
沼
Pressure
にはま
now.
ったやつは確実に仕留める。それが俺の流儀。
All right, cool.
そして
It depends on where he's throwing it at. If he's throwing at the heads intentionally,
Yeah.
then he'll do that. But no, that's actually like
今日
completely
のバガ
fair.
ブーズのオーダー完全に裏目やな。白岡監督は特殊の右打者への足元投げを嫌ってジョンソンも後に左打者を並べた。けどその結果特殊登板の時に回ってくるのは
Oh,
強打力のない打
nice.
者ばっかよ。
今まで俺たちは特地とジョンソンの戦いにばかり気を取られていたが、特地はジョンソンなど最初から眼中になく、
Yeah, he's thinking of the coach.
実はその上
The
白
manager,
岡監
yeah.
督の頭脳を粉砕しようとしてるんじゃないのか。
落ちてくるボールのさらに下を叩いて外野に飛ばす。
Oh man, he is so in your head, dude.
お前の考えてることは手に取るようにわかる。
あーっと三島の打球はレフト黒見沢へのライナー。取ってサードベースを踏んでゲッツー。6回と同じく
Wow.
またも特地のシナリオ通り。
このヘボバッターが。
オーナー、今のプレイで特地がこの3連戦で取ったアウトは12です。逆に我々が2億の負け。やられました。奴は自分の失策を絡め、あえてノーアウト満塁の状態でマウンドに上がり、ゲッツーを取ることでアウト数を稼いでいたんで
Oh
す。
wow, yeah. He forces it to have someone be on third, so he's brought in.
Johnson
出た
illegally.
8回裏の攻防。その興奮冷めやらぬうち、またも特地が登板です。さあ特地ミットをグラブに変えるため、
今までと違って打線が本来のクリーンナップ、長打力のある打者へ回る場面や。
徳地君、今めっちゃめちゃピンチなんですけど、
We are,
ここを
aren't
乗り切
we?
るいいアイディアはね。
ねえよ。
やっぱり
特地、急に内野はジョンソンが塁に出ている時だけじゃない
No,
のか。
not necessarily.
向こうもそう思ってるんだろうな。
え？
だからこそ9人内野
Okay,
なんだよ
dead ball all the cleanup batters.
大丈夫？ね、
Sure.
Put them on the base.
外野に打ち上げられない自信はあるよ。まあ普通に考えれば9人内野だから外野3人を控えの内野手に変えれば内野の守備固めってやつ。
Okay.
あーっと敬遠です。
Yep. Yep.
特地、続くバッターも歩かせ
Cool, so
て
he's not dead ball
次の
anymore.
朝倉と勝負だ。ここで三原監督出てきました。どうやら外野手3人を控えの内野手と交代です。ということは
And the crowd's just loving it. They're like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is so cool.
Yep.
監督、低回転だか高回転
Yeah.
だか知りませんが、あんなボール全然怖くない。
朝倉、もう一度言う。無になれ。
Oh no, now that's gonna make him all flustered.
よう、あんたノーアウト満塁だからってずいぶんのんきに構えてんな。
あ？そうさ。お前なんかへとも思ってねえのさ。
お前死ぬな。間違いなくこの場でゲッツー食らう重さが全然分かってね。
あ？
お前がもしゲッツーになればノーアウト満塁が2アウト2、3塁に変わる。そうなったら俺は迷わず次の9番打者を敬遠するぞ。次のバッターはジョンソンだからな。
Oh, and he can only bunt. which means it's an easy out for 9 for the player
shit.
coming in. Yep.
Yeah. You're already accepting the double play, dude.
He swung.
Hurts. He's so in his head.
It's a high. Yep. Yep. Step out of the batter's box. Yep. On that day, humanity received a grim reminder. Wow.
And he didn't even swing.
No.
あれほど余計なことを考えるなと。そう。普通はモーション開始の時点で投げる球種は決まっている。だが奴はモーションが始まってリリースの瞬間まで何を投げるか先延ばしにしている。打者の様子をギリギリまで観察し、投げる瞬間球種を決断する。打者が山を張れば張るほどその裏をかかれるってことだ。その上タチが悪いのはストライクバッターアウト
And now it's over.
言葉で打者を惑わせ余計なことを考えさせてしまうことさ。
走塁とバントを取ったらお前はただの置物だな。
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no!
スコアは依然0対0。
Yeah, the game's not over.
まだだ。まだ。勝負がついたわけじゃない。ナイスピッチング。
But now they have 8 batters to go through before they'll get back to Johnson.
Well, and you know what's great about this?
この時、誰一人知らなかった。あの守備固めの本当の意味を。そして、この試合の凄まじい結末の行方も。
Wait, are their strongest batters their outfielders? All right, yeah.
All right.
Toa just
Toa
got them
played dirty
again.
and got him good.
He got him again. The idea of a 9-player infield is something that is very rare. I mean, very rare. But it's also something that is very realistic in specific instances. Like this is not a fake thing. This is,
there's a reason why it is almost never done, basically.
It should almost never be done. No.
Right.
In fact, in some ways, it's not even really the 9-player infield. It's more actually the 8-player infield. And then you have one person on either right or left field.
Just in case.
Because that's where the batter will tend to hit if they're right-handed or left-handed and it goes farther. And they don't actually play full left or right. They kind of do left center or right center a little bit.
Sure.
As far as I know. But I love the fact that by bringing them in and in combination with it being a base-loaded situation, he is forcing double plays.
Right.
Which is, that's exactly the kind of dirty shit that I would do if I had a god-level pitcher who could unsettle batters. Because I think the really weird thing is that baseball is such a mental game in terms of being consistent because of how hard it is to actually succeed in the offensive styles of things in baseball.
Right.
Everything is stacked against the offense.
Yeah, having some...
you have 8 players on the field, 9 players on the field to the one batter, right? And that batter coming in there has to break past the pitcher barrier just to then be able to have a chance at then doing the
competing against
offense.
The other 8. Yeah.
Right.
Now, having games where it's like, okay, there's very little scores or even potentially no scores at the end of the game. Cool. Can totally happen. Now, in this situation here, there were some things that he did against the batters that is basic Toa stuff, right? If he gets into a one-on-one match, it's pretty much done. Now, something that I'm curious about is when he gets them down to the 2 outs, just as a refresher for me, the reason that they're able to lock down Johnson so that he can't steal even if he's on third.
They move the third baseman in.
Right, yes, and we got that set up in the earlier games. Right. Yep, cool.
It's the thing of where all they have to do is throw the ball instead of back to third base. They just throw it to the guy in the middle there, and there you go.
Right, and as a result of that, I would almost put them in the 100% kind of category of like, if Toa can consistently make sure that when he's on the mound, that no one is going to get outfield hits, I don't really see how they can beat him.
No, because they can. They absolutely can. But it's the thing of where, in terms of actually doing it, they don't get that many opportunities. Because Toa isn't pitching except for those points when someone is on third base. So
right. And then he fills up the rest of the plates.
Exactly. And then for the majority of the actual times where he's pitching, most of the people that are actually hitting against him, he's manipulated in specific ways so that they're guessing about his hits and what they need to do, rather than just playing the dice game of, okay, I need to at least be able to go on base 4 out of 10 times, and thus, 1 out of those 10 times, or 1.3 of those 10 times is going to be a walk, and the 2.7 times out of 10 is going to be, an actual hit, like an actual stuff in that regard. But primarily, most of the actual hits that people will make against people like this are not going to go to the outfield.
Right.
Most hits are going to go to the infield, and thus this is classic Toa gambling. There is a decent chance, albeit a very low chance, because he's a good pitcher, and because,
500 with no 1-ounce games with no hits to the outfield.
Right. And because not only is this a game where, he's playing up against, people that he's well, like you said, well practiced in that regard. The game of baseball isn't set up for people to be able to hit consistently to the outfield.
Right.
It is not common that people will fly out to the outfield for their primary at-bats. And if it comes down to, you have one person on one at-bat, if you roll the dice, 8-9 times out of 10, it's going to be basically some kind of infield play on any type of hit.
Right, and with 3 extra players in the infield, that gets drastically reduced. Because even if you get the infield hit, most of the time infield hits result in an out. And that's when you don't have a force on all bases, right? Because ball travels way faster than a person can run. So
way faster. So it's 90 feet in between bases, Jacob.
Right. So and so if you have it to be something where the average amount of time that it will take for someone to pick up the ball is drastically less because there's more people, so there's fewer distance between them. So even if you get it perfectly between 2 of them, they're not going to have to run that far in order to get the ball.
Exactly.
Then I feel like you're just kind of screwed here. I'm very curious what the other manager, what Shiraoka will do to try and beat this, because other than telling his batter try and keep a clear head, I don't really see what he can do, because he's in a situation where Toa can put all of the defenses in the infield, and how do you beat that?
I can tell you there's actually a couple things they can do here.
Yeah.
One, the other manager is not dumb. He's probably noticed that Toa is only brought on to pitch once someone gets to third base.
Sure.
All you need to do is have Johnson on second with no one in front of him and have a base hit to the outfield, and Johnson will score.
That's a good point. That is a very good point.
One of the things that he could do, primarily, is he gets Johnson on base and he tells him not to steal from second.
Sure.
And he just stays on second. And then he's like, my theory was right. Toa is only being brought in on, an actual bit here. And then it'll be a thing where the owner on the other team, on the Lycaon's team, will have to be like, wait a minute.
Do we actually bring out Toa here? Or?
Well, right. Why isn't Johnson stealing? And he's like, Toa's got a strategy that works enough here that he's shutting this down, that he's counting on the fact that, I will say, if you have a runner on second that is fast and gets a good leadoff and it's a base hit, meaning it lands on the ground in the outfield, you can almost say that it's like it's better than a 50-50 chance for the runner, basically.
Right. And if this is a runner that can consistently steal home under normal circumstances, then
you have him just go. You have him take off on the swing, basically, or even earlier. But that could actually be really funny. Imagine if Johnson is told, okay, I need you to take home all the way the second the bat,
the batter makes contact with the ball.
Contact, yeah. The problem with that is that it's again very difficult to.
Right, you need to make sure that it's not a foul, that it's not a fly ball that gets caught out or something, and
right. But it's also difficult for Johnson to turn around. His whole strategy that he's been using with Johnson is that he's the track runner.
Right, go.
He's just he's committed to a spot.
Yeah.
So if anything, the best moment we had with Johnson in terms of actual, like, I would say, turning runner skill was when he rounded first that one time.
Okay.
And that's great. But yeah, if he basically sets this up where he's like, don't go on third base, because then they bring on Toa for some reason.
And it's a pretty common thing, correct me if I'm wrong, for when hits are made in baseball, if it's like that the runners will wait until it hits the ground, unless it's like obviously going far away from like anyone that would catch it.
It's the runner's responsibility to make the judgment call. Generally speaking, there's a height that if the ball crests above, then they wait.
Ah, right, because it's easier to get underneath the ball if it's a pop fly or something, as opposed to like if it's
a line drive.
A line drive that's maybe like 12 feet up, so it's like definitely above where anyone could jump and catch. But
where's it going to land?
Right, where's it going to land? If it's not going directly to someone that's going to catch it, they're not going to be able to get ahead of it.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, that's something where the runners are professionals and they'll have seen that probably 1,000 times by this point in their careers.
To have a lot of familiarity with what is something I can achieve another base with or not.
Yeah, not only that, what are the fielders capable of achieving?
Right.
Realistically. There are those fluke, really, really ridiculous 1 in a million chance catches where it's like, oh my God, they actually caught that. They got their glove underneath that. And then they'll come barreling back to their base. But even still, what I've seen like some people do is the thing of where it's they move and they run about halfway, especially if it's like a fly line drive-ish thing to the outfield, and they'll sit at about the halfway point, and then they'll be like, oh, okay. Especially if it's third base, basically where it's okay. Sorry, no. Especially if it's second base, because at third base it doesn't matter. You just sit there and you wait.
And then once they catch
it or it hits the ground, you just go easily anyway.
It's so short.
But if at second, you might lead off a little bit to be like, okay,
just
I can still make it home if it hits the ground here and it's safe. Okay, they caught it. Run back, touch it, and then boom, advance to third.
Sure.
And they don't get home base instead.
But in this situation, Toa was able to make it so that Johnson was the last person to be gotten out, which means they have a long ways to go before he's back up.
Exactly.
And this is something where I am curious to see if this ends up being more decided by Kojima than by Toa, because both teams have 0 points. Now, in a tie, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it the first person to score a point wins, or is it the first person to score a point and the other side doesn't? It doesn't have to go through a full inning.
No, if any inning ends with one side up.
Okay, any inning, right? So the team that goes first in the inning, if they score, the other team still gets a shot.
Score, yeah.
Right, and in this situation, the Boogaboos are the second team.
Yes.
So
they get the chance to come back.
Right. So even
which means the play will be decided by Toa.
Okay, cool. So it'll probably be something where Kojima or someone else will figure out how to get a point, right? And then it's still Toa needing to shut the other team down. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
The scary thing with this, though, is that I get the feeling Toa lightly dropped the suggestion of switching out the outfielders, and I'm not sure. I believe Kojima is a designated hitter. I'm not sure about that. Like, he doesn't have a field position. But he might be. But I've been seeing him in the dugout this whole time, so it might just be that he's still injured and stuff as well, so he's not being brought in.
Well, and even if he is brought in, if he doesn't have someone on base, like getting, even if he gets on base and he gets to like a double or something, right?
Okay.
Or even a triple, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be able to get home, because then you have to have someone after him that'll drive him home, or have someone else get on base first and then he drives them home, right?
Yeah.
But I could very easily see that not happening. And regardless, if he just doesn't come up quickly in the batting lineup, you could get a situation where this goes on for a long time, and then Toa can do the thing that we're hoping / thinking he might be doing, of specifically milking 20 times multiplier outs from this game.
Yeah. Especially if this is the kind of game where the strategy involved in the other team is to consistently set up a spot where Toa needs to be brought in based on the owner's prerequisites.
Yeah.
So Toa is getting a lot of playtime in this game that, well, the owner, in some ways, it's weird to say this, but the owner is actually winning out a lot in a way that I don't think we're really seeing yet, but I would like the story to focus on that, is that these games are far more exciting than the average baseball game.
Correct. So even if like Toa let a run go in and then made it up with a bunch of outs, the owner won huge, even if he only pays Toa a little bit.
Yeah, because the fans are going to be putting their butts in the seats. And I will tell you, one of the trends of baseball the last decade, now this is an older anime, so this might not have been as big of a deal back then, but they could bring this up because it's not a new thing, it's a trend that baseball is on the decline as far as sports goes.
Yep.
It's a sport that has a lot of money spent on it, but not as much money coming into it. And by having games that are this ridiculous and exciting, fans will use their word of mouth and tell their friends to come watch these ridiculous games that the Lycaons do.
Even non-baseball fans, because it's wait, what is this crazy game where
imagine
what's going on?
Imagine the news stories of so this baseball game happened. Regardless of people being able to understand why it's happening this way, you wouldn't see baseball games like this anywhere else.
The problem with a lot of people have with baseball is that it can be kind of boring.
It is actually very boring because it's a game of math, I would say. It comes down to, in a lot of ways, a game where the skill of the batter is sometimes so entirely irrelevant that you end up with these games that are very low scoring and a lot of people in their defensive positions basically sitting around with their thumbs up their asses, not getting to do anything.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, okay, that's why there's stigma around certain positions like right field, for instance, is that in a world dominated by right-handed batters who are going to hit left and center primarily, the right fielder can sometimes just sit there and be like,
sun's nice
cool,
today.
I got to catch 2 balls this entire game. Yep. With, on average about 50 at-bats or maybe 40 at-bats, I would say. And it's like, 2 of them flew out to right field and did my thing there. Whereas first base is getting like
tons of action.
Right. Shortstop's getting tons of action.
And then of course
the
pitcher and catcher
and the batters are just having a
field day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, that's the thing. Baseball can also be surprising, and that's probably why there's that feeling of the sport being kind of a miracle sport, in that every once in a while
something crazy happens.
Natural 20.
Yeah.
Grand salami, big, crazy
Steal
stuff
home.
happens.
Yeah.
Stealing home. And if these games are all filled with that stuff, which, definitely the creator of this story did their research or is experienced in baseball to know the kinds of underhanded tactics and also just little loopholes within rules of baseball to do this kind of stuff, I would say leads to just a really exciting cerebral thriller anime.
Absolutely.
But Toa, if you want to be greedy,
yep. I mean, hey, go for it. For it.
Yeah, it's a gamble. That's who you are. Yeah.
The longer this show goes on, the more I want Toa to lose because
really?
Yeah, because it's very entertaining to see him win, but I also want to see how he would respond if he went up against an opponent that was just truly like God level good, right?
I just don't find that interesting. I think it's funner when it's this kind of game here where he actually already did lose. He let a run in.
Well, okay, sure.
And he's gaining it back slowly as they're counteracting each other.
It's a different kind of interesting. This stuff is baseball interesting. Yeah. The other side of things would be character interesting, where then it's if Toa ended up being in a situation where he owed the owner a lot of money, what would that do? How would he handle that? Why does he love gambling? That kind of thing. But doesn't have to do that by any means. Yeah. Okay.
All right. But yeah, there we go. Heading into overtime. I'm excited for this to be got into because overtime is a very weird place for baseball to be in. And yet, I can tell you, I've been in 15, 16 inning games.
Jesus.
And one of the issues with 15, 16 inning games is that pitchers get tired.
Oh yeah, even the relief pitcher or the closing pitcher or whatever is just like, okay, I'm beat.
Yep. And not only that, it can be those games where all of a sudden both teams score 4 in 1 inning. And it's still going.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, the amount of time it usually takes before they'll call a tie on a game is actually ridiculous. There's very, very rarely ever a tie called, I would say, in baseball if you put all the games ever made into the equation here. Not like games that go into overtime, like how many of them get called into ties, but just ties in general just don't really happen in baseball.
Gotcha.
They do happen. They do happen. But they're more because of extra circumstances and things like that, like weather, you know.
Sure.
Not actually because of, oh, it's the 10th inning and we're tired.
Oh man, that would suck to have something where it's like it's the 12th, 13th inning or something, it's still a tie, and then it's like, oh, storm's coming in. It shouldn't have been a problem, but this game is going for forever. And then it's just, oh, nope, that's it.
Oh, well, yeah. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.